Hi, this is Donna from Clever Crafting. Thank you for joining me today. So we're actually starting off with a little bit of stamping today. You can see that what I've made here is a bit of a jig, and I've just used some post-it note tape on the back, and I'm just placing this in my stamping platform. So I've actually cut 4 hearts. In the kit this month, there's 5 heart stamps in the stamp and die set, but I'm just using 4 of them for this card today, and I need to make at least 16 stamped hearts. So what I've done is I've made this little platformy jiggy thing, and with the post-it note tape on the back I can actually put my pre-cut hearts in there, and now I'm just stamping them. So you can see that I'm using the Simon Hurley dye ink here, but it's pretty light, but that's okay because I actually stamp it a couple of times and it's beautiful. It's a great ink. So I'll just do that again. You can see I'm just pulling them out there. They're a lot darker there. So I think I stamped them 3 times. And then once you've done one lot, you can just do the next. You can also see up the top that I've got some white ones that I just stamped with coloured ink. So, you know, that's an option as well. So we're going to move on to the front of our card, and this is just a lovely piece of the pattern paper that came in this kit, but you can use any pattern paper that you've got in your stash, because we're going to make the front fairly simple because all of the action's happening on the inside today. This is some cotton thread. Now, it has been my observation that most people who do card making and scrapbooking have also done sewing in the past, so they've probably got some cotton thread hanging around. So grab some out of your stash and just wrap it around a few times and tie it off like you see I've done there. Now I'm just getting a bit more and I'm wrapping it around my fingers like so, and we're going to make a lovely bow out of it. This is an idea that my friend Anne had actually, so thanks Anne, I'm sharing this with everybody. And we can just tie that on. You can see with those 2 threads that we tied up the original with. Such a nice easy way to make a bow. Of course you can, zhuzh it up a little bit, move it around, make it nice and even. And I will fluff it up a little bit. I don't make you watch all of that because, I spend too long fluffing it up. Okay, so now we've got some double-sided tape on the back, and I'm just going to position this on the card front. Now, I haven't put a greeting or anything on this yet, but I will be putting that on right at the very end. I'm just trying to put this on while the card's all flat because we're going to have a lovely pop-up element on the inside, so we don't want to be trying to add too many things on the front when it's got stuff on the inside. You'll see what I mean. All right, so let's start in the center. What we're going to do is a bouquet of flowers, and I am starting with this little piece, which is 9 centimeters wide by 7 centimeters tall. And I used a little bit of this pink hessian, and I just used double-sided tape and all over my piece of card. I used double-sided adhesive, completely over that card, and attached the hessian to it. Scored it in half, and now I am just folding it. Now this part for any pop-up is really important, although I did cut it out a little bit, is that you fold it backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. So now I am just marking in 1 centimeter from each edge at the top, and I'm going to score from that 1 centimeter mark to the fold, which will be that'll become the bottom of that card. So I've marked 1 centimeter in from each edge at the top edge, that's on the 9 centimeter side, and I am scoring from there to the center fold. Now, for those of you that did my class, this is slightly different. Well, the technique is the same, but it's just in a slightly different order to what I did to try and make it a little bit more understandable. Once again, you've got to fold along these folds backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. Once I've done that for both of them, I'm now just going to draw a line from the very corner and then down, and that's about 1 centimeter wide. I didn't actually measure it, but it's approximately 1 centimeter wide. You're going to trim it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Just don't make it too small because you will need it wide enough to put some double-sided tape on. And then I'm going to cut those pieces off. So I'm going to use that as a cutting line and just cut along there. So you can see that I've got this shape here and my folds are just under 1 centimeter. Now I'm adding double-sided adhesive. It would have been better if I'd had the extra strong stuff probably, but I just didn't have any on my desk. So I just used this standard double-sided tape. It worked fine. And I've put it right along up to the edge of the fold. Now you've got to be careful not to put it over the fold line, just up to the edge of the fold line, because we're going to need this to open and close really well on the inside of our card. All right, so I'm just going to snip it. Now the snipping is important because it keeps everything nice and neat. So this is from the fold line there down, to make an edge. You'll see in a minute because I am going to fold it over and show you. So it's kind of like, when you cover a book, it's coming up to school time. So of course we're all covering books. Well, I'm not, but there you go. All right, so you could see how that fit. I've just removed the double-sided, the backing of the double-sided tape. I added some of the Smart Art glue as well to make sure that it is really nice and secure. So it's really important that you line the fold up with the fold of the card. So that card is open, that's the center that I'm working on, and I've lined the fold in the little triangular card up with the fold, the center fold of the card base. So now I'm doing the same on the other side. I'm removing the double-sided tape. Now you can see that what I've done is I've folded that in half from the center and it's flat. Adding a little bit of glue, I'm going to hold that flat and I'm going to close the card onto it. So this will help it find its natural joining part, and just gently you should be able to fold that flat as well. And look at that, beautiful. So this is the base of our bouquet. I did actually miss a piece off there, but I'll be showing you how I attach that a little bit later. So it was a bit of a whoopsie for me this time. Okay, so making the flowers is easy. I'm just using the hearts and the stamped hearts, and I'm using 2 and adding a little stem. So I just added some scrap green, cut some little stems. They're like 1/2 centimetre, 1/4 of an inch or whatever wide. You can cut them a little bit narrow if you want. Not too narrow though, because they won't hold up really well. I did cut a couple really narrow and I wasn't really happy with the result. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I am just popping a little bit of glue on the base of the stem, and I'm going to attach this to the back to the card base itself. But what I'm doing here is I'm trying to show you that you've got to be careful that when you put it in there, it is not going to stick out of the side of the card when the card is closed. And that's really more important when you're attaching it to the actual bouquet part itself, the pop-up part. So you can see that what I've done there is I've popped some glue at the bottom of that stem on the front, but when I close it, can you see that it's sticking out there? So I am actually going to make that a wee bit shorter, put it down a little bit, a bit more glue first because I used it all up. And be careful about the glue because you want to make sure that you're not going to glue your bouquet down to the base of your card, because that would be terrible. All right, so now that's closes, that's good, and you can see that that's positioned in there. And you will just do the same with all the rest. I sped this up. I wanted to show you that you can fix errors. I just didn't want to spend much time on it. So I forgot to put the little bit of tissue paper in the top that I like to add. You could put a doily if you wanted to. And you would normally do this before you attach your little bouquet, but I forgot. But see, you can do it anyway. All right, so now I also had some green hearts that I cut out, and I stamped these ones with one of the designs looks like a fingerprint, and I used that on these leaves just to add a little bit of extra interest and texture. It kind of looks a little bit like the veins of a leaf, as long as you don't look too closely. You can see that what I did is I cut my heart in half, and I just shaped each half a little bit so I can make some lovely leaves. And quite simply, I'm going to check out where I want them and position them. Now these leaves will add a little bit of weight close to the top of the hearts too, which will make them flop down a little bit, and you'll see here in a minute with this one, because I do stand it up. You can see how they'll flop down and they'll make the bunch look a little fuller. It's a bit of an optical illusion. So I just cut out my thanks several times, I think that's 4 times, and stacked them, and then I've just got a bunch on there. I actually did that on my computer and printed it out, and there it is. Thanks a bunch, and there's our lovely little pop-up and nice and simple card. So thank you for hanging in with me today. I know it's a little bit longer than normal, but I think we must have made it just under our 10-minute mark. I really hope you learned something, and I'd love you to give this a try. If you want to see heaps of examples, you should hop over onto our Facebook page, because this was a class, and so there was a lot of the students that were in the online class have actually posted their photos, so there's a lot of variations, and you'll find some really beautiful ones over there. I will have a link below to all of the things that I used. So thanks once again for joining me, and stay safe and happy crafting.